Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Allison Schumacher. I am the Director of Academic Alchemy for the VCU Da Vinci Center. And we are here today to have an information session. I'll have Mary Chris introduce herself in a second. But really just want to welcome everyone to talk about this program that we very much love and have really had a wonderful experience with our students. It is very human-centered. We work hard to develop relationships with our students and make sure we understand what their goals are so that we can meet them where they are and get them to where they need to be. This has really been the crown jewel of academic programs in the VCU Da Vinci Center, and we are excited to talk to anybody who gets excited about innovation, entrepreneurship, and user-centered design. So welcome everybody, and Mary Chris, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, welcome. My name is Mary Chris Escobar. I am the Director for Student Success for the department that houses both the Da Vinci Center as well as our interdisciplinary studies program. And like Allison mentioned, I love working with this program and with our students and the creativity. And so my office really supports students kind of throughout the life cycle, from when you arrive here and getting you oriented all the way through graduation. And so really excited that you all are here today to learn more about the program. And we're happy to answer questions and all of those things as well. Do you want to take this one, Allison, or am I?
Sure.
Okay.
So the Da Vinci Center's worked really hard to make sure we have a clear identity of so we can communicate to our audiences, our sponsors, our donors, our students, who we are. So ultimately, we kind of package ourselves in this Venn diagram you see on the screen. So academic, experiential, and experimental. All of our academics are experiential, and we do some experiments by throwing in some interesting classes that our faculty are interested in teaching or to fill gaps that our students have identified. And we also offer lots of experiential opportunities through Shift Retail Lab, which we'll talk about in a bit, and a whole bunch of other things that aren't credit bearing and don't require tuition payments. So we're here to give as much applied learning and experience as we can to students. So in that process, we developed a bunch of design aspirations. So this was quite the lengthy process, but my favorite one is the first one, is being student focused. Our students give feedback every single semester in order to help change our classes and our programs. If you're going to be an innovation center and you're going to teach design thinking, you got to practice what you teach and take a lot of user feedback in order to improve your quote unquote product. So I can let you read through the rest of these, but just know that these are to the heart of what Da Vinci is and how we show up for our students.
Great. And Allison mentioned Shift Retail Labs. We'll talk about this as well as other perks to students later on in the presentation. But just wanted to mention, we're really proud of several awards that our center has gotten. One was from Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. And then Fast Company, we were both an honorable mention and a winner in two different categories, actually. But we're really proud of both of those, especially that winner in the learning category for thinking outside the box and providing students really hands-on ways to learn in a lab experience about being an entrepreneur. And so the Shift Retail Lab is something that is open to both really any undergraduate student at VCU and any graduate student, but a lot of our MPI students do use it really specifically in their projects and their work that they're doing in the program. So just really like to highlight that piece and some things that we're just very proud of as a center.
All right, so our academic programs, this is just going to kind of give you the brief of what we do overall in the academics in the Da Vinci Center. So we are the home of 3 different certificates and 1 full graduate program. You're here for the Master of Product Innovation. All of these programs are cross-disciplinary, so we tend to combine the arts, the business, the engineering, the humanities and sciences, the medical, bringing everyone to the table, knowing that there are creative minds that can work to solve virtually any problem. So for the undergraduate, we do product innovation, baccalaureate certificate, which really is a set of courses where students get that cross-disciplinary education, and then they go through a capstone where we are bringing in the problems from industry. In terms of venture creation or other certificate, the problems are coming from the students. And we try to help students understand the entrepreneurial process and how to actually launch a business before they ever leave VCU. They have very safe space to be able to do that, so lower risk than what they might have if being out into the real world. For graduate programs, you're here for the Master of Product Innovation. We're going to talk all about that. And then we also have a graduate certificate in healthcare innovation. So that is 12 credits, but it's a mix between 6 credits out of the MPI and 6 credits out of the nursing leadership program over in the School of Nursing. So this can be very customized. We have lots of courses that students can choose from on the Da Vinci side of things to be able to help you get where you need to be. So if you're a healthcare provider and you have an idea, you've seen a problem in the hospital and you have an idea for a product, we can actually make sure that you go through a class that can help you look at that idea, validate it, make sure there's a market for it, and then work you towards commercialization in whatever direction that needs to be. So that one's only 12 credits. We have had students complete it in 1 year. If you are an MPI, there is no additional cost for adding that certificate. So you can get a master's degree and a graduate certificate for the cost of one master's program. Basically, the nursing classes fit nicely into the electives for the MPI. But the MPI itself is 13 to 18 months. So if you start in the summer, you can usually finish by summer. Or you can extend to 18 months. We do have part-time students who can take 2 years to go through the program. There are some real great benefits to that if going full-time into a graduate program is something that you find to be a challenge, especially if you're working full-time. But yes, we do teach courses in arts and design and business and technology and engineering, and give you those real-world experiences as well on top of getting an entrepreneurial experience. So kind of those certificates combined and then at a higher rate of challenge, I guess. All right. So for full-time students, Mary Chris, do you want me to go through this one?
Yeah, so what we'll do here, I've got kind of a breakdown of what this looks like with it when you start in the summer versus what it looks like when you start in the fall. So I'll talk through that, but would love to just kind of talk everyone through, and I will turn it back over to you, Allison, but we've got a bunch of numbers up here on this slide, just because it's a slide and we have limited space. But I think a really nice way to get a feel for our program is to know what the classes are. And so this slide is for students who are interested in, the way they're formatted here is for students who are interested in starting in the summer. I'll show you what it looks like if you start in the fall. I'll give you an example of part-time. But while we're here, I think it would make sense just to kind of talk through what the classes are.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we speak in numbers. Eventually our students learn them, I think. But for these, the names are just a little too long to involve on this, to keep them on this slide. So if you start in the summer, there is a course called Inno 600, which is where we take students to the European Innovation Academy in Porto, Portugal for 3 weeks. You go from idea to pitching to investors in just those 3 weeks with people from anywhere from 40 to 65 nationalities coming into this one place to experience this very fast-paced, I guess, breadth of knowledge of coming up with an idea for a product and validating it and moving it through markets and then pitching to investors. So very much a fast-paced version of what we teach in the master's program. So you can kind of get a full glimpse of it, and then you come back and get depth when in the fall and the spring and next summer semesters. So the alternative that we introduced when COVID presented itself was another course called Inno 610. That is design thinking, innovation, and change management. So there are internationally recognized certifications in those subjects for part of that class. And this is taught fully online by one of our incredible faculty members who teaches design thinking and does this work. He did it for Capital One. He does it for the government. Gopa is a fantastic person, but you can take either of those courses to meet that requirement. So if heading off to Porto is for 3 weeks is not in the cards for you, you can always take Inno 610. The 691s that we have listed here into the first summer, 691 means it's a topics class. A 591 means it's a topics class. So this is where we offer up kind of a choose your own adventure. So we may have international intellectual property protection for a 1 credit course, or user-based research, or UX UI. And you can take 3 of those 1 credit courses in the summer to be able to equate to essentially 1 3-credit elective or 3 credits towards your 6 total credits of elective that you need for the program. But we offer a lot of these courses anywhere between 1 to 3 credits throughout every single semester. So there's always opportunities to pick up other electives if you only want to do 1 class for your first summer semester. So looking at fall, 501 is our arts and design course. 502 is our business course. 503 is our technology/engineering course. And 590 is the project course. So through the lens of each of those subjects, 501 to 503, if you're coming from a background in graphic design, you're not required to take the 501, the arts and design course if you don't want to. But we do, or for business, you don't have to take 502, but we do encourage our students to take all of these courses simply because we're teaching it from the perspective of innovation, specifically from product. And there are ways that information and case studies and various things that can be valuable to people, even if they have a background in one of those fields. You can also stop into the first class and see if it's something that's actually going to be valuable to you. The 590 course is a project course. This is where I'm going out into the world, the Pfizers, the CarMaxes, the Capital Ones, the startups, the nonprofits, a lot of them from the Richmond community will bring forward product development problems. These tend to be really complex problems, and we put you into cross-disciplinary teams, and you get to work to solve these problems and actually pitch to their leadership. The entire point of these projects is that what you create actually goes out into the world and becomes real. And this course gives you quite the nice portfolio project in the end. So if you're a person who wants to be able to put your creative work and product development out there in the world, this course helps develop one of those pieces. 651 and 652 are our capstone courses. They're 6 credits each. So 12 credits of a 30-credit master's are in the capstone. So those are super important. So in the fall semester, we're learning all of the basics of what we need. We're getting our hands dirty doing product development. And that semester is primarily focused on those basics and kind of learning about industry and how product is done in industry. And then in the spring semester in 651, you are exploring your own idea, or you're borrowing an idea from tech transfer, or you're hopping on a team with another MPI who has an idea you're really excited about. And then we help you take that idea, validate it, and move it towards commercialization. That is the whole goal of 651. So even if you have no desire to be an entrepreneur, it's really important for you to go through that process, that intellectual process of what it takes to go from idea to commercialization. That is part of the entrepreneurial mindset of problem solving, growth mindset of being able to go out into the world and see where opportunities exist and then knowing how to get them started. So that particular course is a lot of fun to watch to see what our students actually come up with. Lots of different ideas. And if you happen to have a product or an idea that you've already started, we can meet you where you are in that course and help you move that towards commercialization. We've had students who have already started companies, and they have a different set of goals than students who are starting with a fresh idea. So we can accommodate pretty much anybody in those courses. 652 is the way that you finish the program. And there are 3 different options for this. One of them is rarely selected, but the first 2 are pretty popular. So the first option is to be approved to move the business or the product that you have started in 651 forward and just continue to build that business in 652. You can do an internship or a job in the product space. That's your second option. Or you can do a traditional master's thesis, which no one ever does because we are an applied program. Uh, Sometimes we get some interest, but they end up changing their mind. But our mentorship and various things can help you get internships and jobs in the space. But ultimately, we are designing these capstones to give you what you need to launch you out into the world of product development and problem solving. And the other elective listed there, you can take them in virtually any semester. We have a whole list of electives that we offer. And then we also have, there are lots of other electives in other departments on campus that Mary Chris has done a fantastic job of kind of collecting what those classes are so their students can see the options that we have. So I think I covered it all, Mary Chris.
Yes, you did. And I will just say I put a link in the chat to the electives that we offer at the Da Vinci Center. So just to give you a sample, I believe you have to scroll down a little bit to see the graduate offerings. There's also some undergraduate ones on there. But that just gives you an idea of some of the titles of those topics classes that Allison was talking about. So as I mentioned, what you're seeing here, this is for students who are applying to start in the summer with us. And this would be summer starting on a full-time student. I do want to point out though, full-time at the graduate level is 9 credits. Both of our summer semesters are really designed for students only to be in 6 credits. And so this is what we consider our full-time schedule for moving through the program full-time. But I just want you to take note that there are really only 6 credits that you need to take in both summer semesters.
We give the caveat that as a graduate student, you only are required to have 5 credits to qualify for financial aid.
Yes, exactly. So you're fine if you're planning to use financial aid in those 2 semesters, but just as far as credit load, just be aware of that piece. I'll also mention, students can take above and beyond that. Sometimes people get really excited about the electives and take additional credits, but that is what is required. And then if you were to start with us in the fall, because we are, currently accepting applications for both deadlines. We're recording this in January, so we still have both applications open. If you happen to be watching this recording after January, if you have found it, we are only taking applications for the fall at that point after March 15th. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you wanted to start with us in the fall, this is roughly what the sequence of courses would look like. And so what I really like to point out here is that 500 series, so the arts, the business, the engineering, is only offered in the fall. The 651 course is only offered in the spring. So those things kind of fall there. That 652 course that Allison mentioned, you can take that in the summer or the fall. So there's some flexibility with that, even for our full-time students, but just like to point out kind of where some of those classes that really are only offered one semester have to go. When you're looking at this, those electives can absolutely go in different places. We also offer the 610, that is the companion or the substitute class for that Porto experience. That's offered every semester. Also, if you're looking at that and you're like, I want to go to Porto and take, an 0600, and I'm also really interested in 610. 610 can count as an elective. So you can, take both of those and that's totally fine. But this is generally what it would look like, especially with the 500 series and the 651. This is what it would look like as a full-time student starting in the fall. And then there's a lot of flexibility in the part-time, and especially those electives and where those electives fall and get placed out. But I do like to show just an example for a student starting in the fall of what a part-time program would look like. And again, what I'm really trying to highlight here is you can only take the 501, 502, 503, and 590 in the fall. So it really does take 2 years to go through the program as a part-time student. You have to also have that 500 series done before you take our 651. So that pushes it to the spring of your second year. What's really cool about this is if you think about a not accelerated, more traditional master's program, those are 2-year programs for full-time students. And so what's really awesome about the MPI is you can complete it in 2 years on a part-time basis, which is just really nice. If you want it to go longer than that, it can. And we have certainly had students who, work in life situations, they need to stretch it out in that way. And that really is okay. We just have to be cognizant again of like those certain things that are only offered in fall and spring. And so if you only take one of those 500 level classes in the spring, you're going to, or in the fall, you're going to really stretch it out a long time. These are the individual conversations that we have with students around, how do you want this to look for you? How do you want to plan it out? But I think sometimes it's helpful to have a visual to compare part-time to full-time and just sort of give you an idea. And again, just so there's no surprises about those classes that really are only offered once a year and have to stay in sequence as you go through the program. All right. So that was our number salad and how to get through the program. Did you have something there, Allison? Or
No, but I think it's funny you called it the number salad.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to jump in and talk about the
Cool.
perks and resources here. Um, so for our MPIs, we offer quite a few opportunities, and at the end of this, I'm actually going to give a couple examples of some opportunities that we've provided for our students and projects. So you have a little bit more context as to the meat of the program and what's in here. But for the first part, so use of Shift Retail Lab, this space is, like Mary Chris said, a lab. Like if you took a biology class, you have a biology lab. This is a lab for product development and entrepreneurship. So it is a space where students can pitch ideas to get feedback from audiences. They can actually sell product, and you maintain 100% of what you earn. We don't even touch the money on that one. And you can also use it as a means to experiment and create prototypes. So we had a wonderful student named Naz who came through, and her idea about product was to be able to create like unique Airbnb spaces that were based on culture. And so she wanted to find a way to prototype this. And as an Iranian student, or Iranian native, she had noticed that in the media, there wasn't a lot of positive information coming out about Iran in the United States. And so she wanted to be able to show the beauty of the landscape and the artwork and the people and the food and the music. So she took over Shift Retail Lab, and we built a replica of Iranian Bridge, which was the theme, bridging, different communities, different cultures. And inside there, we had projectors going to where you could see different videos and images of the landscape and architecture in Iran. Had Iranian wine being served, had Iranian music being played live, and had people with little pins that were around the room from her community here in Richmond. And that was a living library. So people could go around and actually talk to people about their experiences in the United States and about their experiences in Iran and all the things. So we could truly kind of work together to understand each other and come together. She even had her community make a ridiculous amount of food for everyone to try traditional dishes. But the point being, you can use that space to be able to create something that maybe you didn't think you could at a certain scale, and just test an idea, right? So it's not just having a little shelfy space where we're putting up a product idea. You can take over the space to try to prototype things. The second thing here is $1,000 in capstone funding. So we call it capstone funding, but this is actually funding that students can use throughout their time in Da Vinci, or in the MPI, to, if you have a conference that you want to go to, you can use it to fund that. You can use it as for prototyping materials and those types of things, to buy software licenses. There's all kinds of things that you can purchase with it. Um, it tends to be orchestrated through us. So you kind of tell us what you want to purchase, and then we make that purchase for you. But every student can fully utilize that $1,000 while they're in the program. Um, the one-on-one mentoring, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is really a special thing that exists in our program. We keep this MPI small, specifically so that we can offer quality mentorship to every student that comes through. So we have 4 mentors that students cycle between. They're required to see at least each mentor in a semester. And this is to talk about, what is it that you want to do with your capstone? What is it that you want to do after you leave VCU? What do you want to happen in your career? And then when you tell us like what you're interested in, we can make connections to people in our network and just make introductions. So you can have coffee with someone to learn what a UX UI researcher does, and if that's something you actually want to do, or if you want to be a product lead and manage several products within a company. So all types of ways to be able to build that network that then helps you get that internship or that job later on, or maybe a promotion. Hmm? Possibly. Um, Looking at other sources of funding, we also have fellowships, scholarships, and GA support. So we have fellowships that we offer to students. They're usually $7,500 to $10,000 each, and that is students apply for these after they've been accepted into the program. So you may submit an application to focus on AI and machine learning. And if you're accepted, then we distribute funds and you get to research that topic and go to conferences if you want to, but that money is provided for you to be able to do as much research in that space as you want to. And then you report back to us at the start of each new semester for the previous semester, so we can see what you've learned and how you've built your network. We just actually had those yesterday. which is lovely. There are scholarships available. We do have some through the graduate school, some through private donors, but those do vary a great deal depending on how generous our donors are. So feel free to ask questions about that. We definitely send up some information. There's lots of scholarships available to graduate students, but these scholarships, again, tend to be distributed when students have been accepted into the program. So just as an understanding, that's a little different than other programs. And then GA support, we do offer graduate assistantships to as many students as we can. What that means is that you work 10 to 20 hours a week, about $18 an hour, for shift retail lab or running the makerspace or helping faculty grade and teach. There's lots of different ways, but we try to balance those job descriptions between things you want to learn and do, to needs that we have in the center. So lots of opportunity to work right with us. Heck, we even had one student who was such a great GA. She came on as a postdoc and it stayed with us for another year. So we couldn't be more happy to be able to keep her for an extra year. But now she's running Shift Retail Lab. So lots of opportunities. Every student at VCU gets free Adobe Creative Cloud. We are an Adobe campus. We're one of 30 out there. So something that's just nice to have while you're trying to kind of develop your creativity skills, or just if you are creative, have access to the right tools. We also have a maker space with laser cutters and 3D printers, vacuum form machines, lots of hand tools, lots of free materials for students to work on, sewing machines, all that kind of stuff. It's where we get to prototype with students, and that is honestly one of my favorite things in my job. So if you have a product idea and you have no idea how to prototype it, let's talk. Let's figure it out. That is like a vacation within my job. It's wonderful. Love to work with students on prototyping. And that is only open to the students enrolled in our programs. So undergraduate certificate students and MPI students. And then the last part here is access to the College of Engineering's 10,000 square foot makerspace. You can go through safety training and use some of the basic tools that are there, but they do offer education in several different tiers. So you can go from learning how to use a or a drill to cutting metal with water. So quite the large expansion opportunity for skill sets there. And those are non-credit bearing classes, and they do have fees associated with them. But again, you have $1,000 to be able to utilize there. Or if you work for us and require those skills, we can help fund that as well. And so last thing on this that isn't on this slide, but wanted to give a couple examples about. I gave the example about Naz and doing her capstone work. But also so this semester, we are working with a company called Upstream 360. They are looking to develop an AI tool for internal use to evaluate the quality of product communication that they create for the world. So they work with like Colgate and P&G and all kinds of groups to give what we call the 3-second wow. So it's a very short way of communicating what a product does, in order to get the most impact on the audience. And so they want a way to be able to evaluate how well that 3-second wow works in comparison to other forms of advertising. So our students are a part of a special class where they get the opportunity to learn directly from this product communication company, Upstream, and they get to work side by side with Upstream's team to understand how they do what they do and build this other tool on top of it. Other examples are, in the 590 course, the project course, we got the opportunity to work with NASA, specifically the Langley Center, to figure out how they can better look at their technologies within NASA, to be able to communicate them out to the world so that groups like startups can utilize that technology to be able to build a business around. There are lots and lots of other things that I could describe. We worked on ways to help simplify creating tempeh. So mycelium and and chickpeas and various other things. So we make medical products. We do all kinds of things that are out there. Feel free to reach out to us. I'm happy to provide more examples. I think I have about 115 different project examples I think I could talk about with you. So just a brief there to give you a little bit more meat behind what we're doing. But there we go. Now we can move on.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, lots of fun projects, lots of things that are available to you while you're in the program. Um, just a couple kind of housekeeping things here. Uh, our application deadlines, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the application period for both summer and fall at this point. And so the deadline for summer is March 15th. That is also the fall deadline for international students. So our previous deadline of December 15th was a summer deadline for international students. So international students wanting to join us in the fall need to apply by March 15th. And the reason for that earlier deadline is it just takes time for your visa to process and all your paperwork to process. And we want that to be the least stressful possible process possible for you. And so that 3/15 deadline, that March 15 deadline really helps with that. And then all other students, we will accept fall applications through June 15th. We do already have some interview dates set. So if you want to, these are on our website as well. But for those of you who apply by March 15th, the interview date is April 2nd, and that'll take place between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern time. And then June 30th, we also have interviews for the June 15th deadline. And so just, we like to give you those ahead of time so you can hold some space on your calendar. I will tell you all that that June 30th, you will not be with us in the virtual interview from 12 to 6, but we don't know how many people will have to schedule. So we tend to schedule those in 2-hour blocks, probably 12 to 2 and 4 to 6. But if you can just hold that whole time in case we need to schedule you in that time.
And don't let the idea of an interview be intimidating. These things are fun, and the whole point is just to get to know you better as a human being. So we utilize Lego Serious Play. So we're going to like send you a pack of Legos that you get to play with, and it's a group experience most of the time. Sometimes it's one-on-one, depending on people's schedules, but you get the opportunity to meet other potential candidates, be able to know them as humans a little bit more too, but we get to understand what you value and what gets you excited about MPI while playing with Legos.
Exactly. Yeah, this is definitely not a traditional process. And that really segues nicely into talking about the application process in general. I'm actually going to go a little bit out of order here, because our real desire in the application process is to know who you are as a person. And that is why we like those interviews. We do a lot with Lego Serious Play in our center, so it makes sense to introduce students from that to that from the beginning. We also do a lot of group work, and so we transitioned I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago to doing these group interviews. One, to signal like you're going to be working in groups a lot, but also, like Allison mentioned, to give you a chance to meet other people in the cohort. And really to signify the way that you'll be moving forward in the program. So we put a lot of emphasis on that interview, not in a like you have to perform really well, but in a like we want to know who you are as a person. We recognize that not everyone has done Lego Serious Play. We have students in those interviews who've never used Legos, which is always delightful for us. So it's not about like how well you build things or any of that. It's just who you are as a person, how you interact with others, and we really value that. So that's a big part of the application process.
It's also a really great opportunity for you to figure out whether or not we're the right place for you to land.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And so, to that point, what we're really looking at in the application is your statement of intent, what you are interested in gaining from this program, how it fits into your trajectory of, what you're hoping to do. The things that we require are that statement of intent, a resume. The resume is also just to get to know you. We have students from in all different places in their career, students who are coming right out of undergrad to students who have, kind of that 8 to 10 year break. We've got a medical doctor or a dentist in our program right now, as well as someone who is doing the MPI in medical school
A
side by side.
neurosurgeon. He's already a neurosurgeon
Okay,
and a
yes,
pediatric dental surgeon. Yeah. So
yes.
coming back to school, getting more creative with their education.
Definitely. And so, that resume, it's not like we're looking for, you have to have 10 years of experience, but we're also not looking for like, we don't want you to have experience. We want actually that rich mix of all of that makes the cohort really special.
And you don't
So,
have to be a neurosurgeon.
you don't. No. But we do happen to have 2 people. Right?
They're fantastic humans too.
Yes, exactly. But no, you definitely don't. On that application, you need to going to need to fill in the names and email addresses of 3 references. You do not have to collect reference letters and like attach them to your application. You just need to let people know that something's going to be coming to them for them to upload a reference letter. So we just need names and emails of those people. So basically you just have to have asked them. You don't need to get a letter from them. You do need to enter your transcript request in the system. And if you have access to an unofficial copy of your undergraduate transcript, that's really helpful if you can upload that for us as well. If you
And if
happen
you,
to, Mhm.
sorry, and if you've attended any other programs. So if you've attended another master's program that you didn't finish, those kinds of things, those unofficial or official transcripts are helpful too. Yep.
Yes, exactly. That is super helpful. And if you were at VCU and you have access, that's amazing. We also do have access to transcripts for VCU students. So, if you don't have access to it, we can help you with that if you are a VCU student, current or past. We do have an optional portfolio for all applicants. There was a time period that feels like a lifetime ago where we required standardized testing and portfolios for arts. So standardized testing if you weren't coming from the arts, and portfolios if you were coming from the arts, unless you had, I think it was like a 5-year gap between college. We moved in 2020, testing was wonky. It was hard for people to get test scores. We moved away from that. And it has really not made a big difference because, again, we were always looking at the personal statement, at the interview, at all of those things, and really not that much at the test scores.
Well, we don't even take tests in the program. Why would
I
we
know.
require a
Why would we
test to get in,
require it?
right? But university had to relax that requirement too.
Exactly. So we do not require standardized testing. If you have scores that you're like super proud of, you can upload them. I think there's a place, but we don't require it. And we went to not requiring, in that vein, we don't require students with a background in design to submit a portfolio. But if any student has a portfolio and would like to submit it, because we're starting to see more commonly students across all disciplines having some form of a digital portfolio, right? A website where you might have examples of writing or music or projects you worked on in college. If you have something like that, or if you would like to create a PDF with just showing us some of the things that you have done in your work experience, in your personal life outside of work that you enjoy, you're more than welcome to do that. We don't want this to be a stressful thing. So do it or don't do it. I mean, again, like the statement of intent can say a lot, but we do offer space if it is something that you have that you would like to submit. It's also something we talk about in the program creating. So if you don't have one coming in, it is something we will talk about while you're here, creating a portfolio of your work. But if you do have that, we would love to see it. And so that's optional for all students. I'm going to pop back one slide, how to apply. When you're on our website at the Da Vinci Center, if you go to the programs header, click on graduate, click on MPI, you'll eventually get to a link, like an apply now link. I never want anyone to be surprised. That's actually going to take you out to VCU's general admissions page that looks like what I have here. You're applying for 2025 terms, and you'll see some separate things there for Wilder and School of Social Work. Just click on the application for all other graduate programs and you'll find MPI listed under that. And just be aware that there is a summer and a fall option right now. So choose whichever one is appropriate for whichever semester that you want to start. So just like to acknowledge that everything is not going to be housed on the Da Vinci site. You are going to need to navigate out and set up an account through the university's application system that routes to the different programs, and we see all of that on our end. And one last thing I'll mention there, is just that if the application fee waiver is a problem for anyone, we are happy to waive those. We do have an address here on this screen, so you are more than welcome to go to that email address. I think Allison and I can both share our addresses as well in the chat, but if that fee is a problem, you can submit your application, and please do submit your application, but then just let us know and we're able to go in and waive that fee for you. And we'll leave some email addresses in the chat. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Yes, for those who may be seeing this afterwards who would like to email Mary Chris or I, since you can't see the chat, um, my email address, you see my name Schumacher there. It's my last name, A as in Allison, N as in Nicole at vcu.edu. And Mary Chris is Escobar MC, so ESCOBAR MC at vcu.edu. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody who's joining us in terms of our recording here. But we do have a live person here. Not sure if Shanlon has any questions for us, but we can certainly answer them for you if you do.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. I do have a few questions. One of them, I'm not sure, and my phone cut out a little bit, so I missed just a very
That's okay.
small portion. Um, is this program solely in person, or can you be remote at all?
There are some remote opportunities. So if you're a summer student, most of our classes in the summer are offered online, including 610 that can take 3 credits of either elective or required credits out of the program. Um, that can be taken any semester, 610, wide open.
Okay.
But in terms of fall semester, spring semester, like you can do 652, the very last 6 credit course from anywhere in the world. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but the 500 series, 501 through 590, and then 651 do need to be in person. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little
So we
bit
don't
of
have a
Alright.
fully online option. I mean, it
Okay.
is an in-person program.
Are you within Richmond or from somewhere else?
Okay. I'm in the Hampton Roads area in Virginia, so Chesapeake, Norfolk.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So a little bit of a drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a little bit of a drive. We
Yeah.
do have students who commute from like Charlottesville. They tend to be part-time
Mm-hmm.
Part-time.
in the
Yeah.
program, but we do have commuters. Yeah.
And one thing I will
Okay.
mention with that option, so our courses in the fall and spring are one night a week each. So if you did like 2 courses part-time, it would be 2 nights. It's all Monday through Thursday, so it would be like a Monday, Tuesday, or a Tuesday, Wednesday. We actually
Mm-hmm.
have someone commuting from DC. And she has kind of strategically, the way she's taking the 500 level classes, she is doing the Monday, Tuesday, and then next fall she'll do the Wednesday, Thursday, just to kind of, she's doing that because she has some folks she can stay with in Richmond. But
Barrett did the same thing from Charlottesville. He would come in for
yeah,
2 days, he would stay the night, and then head home after class on the second night. And we
Mm-hmm.
do all of our classes, we try to offer after 5 p.m.
yes,
So our
Mm-hmm.
dates can work.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you
Thanks.
happen to have like family, friends, somebody in the Richmond-ish area that you could do like a kind of stay over, some that
Yeah.
can work. But
Mm-hmm.
everything's in the evening, everything's one night a week. But there is that in-person component.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
other?
And I also, um, I'm loving that you mentioned if you already have a product. So I actually do. I went through the prototyping phase. I currently hold a patent. So I wanted to know where I fall in the process as far as classes. So I'm glad you mentioned that and just being able to kind of pick up where you
Yeah.
are. But I do feel like going at it alone is very different
Mhm.
than being in a program that's really geared toward not missing certain steps. Sorry.
Mhm.
Uh
Yeah.
it's yeah, my motion sensor.
Oh,
It's motion detectors.
we have them in our offices too.
Uh,
They do.
yeah. So I
Oh, you're kind of breaking up here, right?
so when I saw the cohorts
Mhm.
and for the lab for oh,
Oh, Shanlon, you're cutting out.
sorry. Can you hear me?
You're
Okay,
very
great.
in and out and a little
Uh,
robotic.
with the cohorts for the labs, that's something that you wait until you're I'm sorry.
No, no, you're good. We were hearing you.
We can hear you. Yeah. And if it's helpful to turn your camera off, if that helps with like audio, feel free.
Okay, so I don't know if it'll help, but I'm willing to try it. The cohorts with the lab, for instance, I clicked on the link to
Shannon, you're breaking up still.
Yeah, it was
Put it
good
in
for a
chat.
minute.
check
We can read it
it
out loud.
out, and I see
Your
that you
phone's
have
just
a few
fighting
in
you
the
today.
spring. So for instance, which part of the program to
Oh, so let me see if I'm getting this right. I think you're asking about the cohorts at Shift Retail Lab and, what part of the program would you start taking part in that? So actually, those are open to anybody. They're open to current students, community members, probably not super conducive to you not living in Richmond, but I mean, you could join one of those now. um, and so you can be part of that throughout your whole time in the MPI. The semester that you would specifically be working on your own project, like in a class, would be the NO 651, which is that spring semester course. So you could think of it as like, I'm going to go through Shift Retail Lab while I'm in 651, but you can also go through that prior to 651. That's available kind of outside, it's affiliated with us, but it's outside of the MPI and it's open to all students and community members. So you can go through earlier.
And the mentorship and the networking piece from MPI is throughout the entire program. So if there's something that we can do to be able to help you advance your product before you get to that capstone class, we will absolutely help as much as we can there. And the capstone specifically, because you already have a product, I can give an example. So we had a student who came in from JMU. He had a product already. It had been it was a tech product, and that had all been figured out. So when he came into the program, he set goals at the beginning of that capstone class to be able to make sure that his product got into several markets. And so he set very different goals where some students are validating a product idea, he's validating markets. So he already has, his business plan, but we work through the business plan, even if there's one established, to make sure we're not missing anything and all those kinds of things. And then helping to make introductions and point those students towards the opportunities that can help them reach their goals. Yep. Hopefully that answered.
Thank you. Yes.
I love that. What background are you coming from, or what is your product in? Actually, the background doesn't matter as much as kind of what is your product? Can you tell us?
Yes. Hopefully you can hear me and it doesn't break up too much. I created a breastfeeding device. Um, so it looks, feels, functions like the breast to simulate the breastfeeding process for those who aren't able to breastfeed naturally. So could simulate breastfeeding as well. So that way it's a continuous feeding process for the infant and it promotes skin to skin contact. It also helps to increase breastfeeding rates as well as just lower infant mortality. And it's also one of my, um, the special parts of it is for breast cancer survivors who have endured mastectomy,
Yeah.
that they can actually recreate breastfeeding even though they don't have breasts. So that's something that, I am really passionate about with breastfeeding. I actually teach breastfeeding as well.
Oh, this is amazing. I have a current student who's a nurse, and she's her product is that she's working on in her capstone has a lot to do with the bonding of children, and especially children who require in-home care.
Mhm.
And that's who she works with. Those are who her patients are. There's connections here in terms of the bonding. I mean, even fathers could use this, and what a unique and just special experience for
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
That is so cool. I am excited.
Yeah, that's
I want to
awesome.
see this thing in
Thank
action.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank
Well, I
you.
imagine, I mean, Actually breastfeeding is a pretty common issue or source of problems that we've seen come through VCU. I mean, there's a
Right.
group of nurses, lactation nurses, who developed a product that helps kind of prop everything in place so that a mom has the ability to use her hands a little bit more
Mhm.
while breastfeeding. Yeah, all kinds of things. So
Yes.
that's really exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My goodness, congrats on the patent.
Thank
yeah, that's really
you.
cool.
That's not an easy thing to do. So
Thank you.
yeah. Goodness
Nice.
No,
gracious. Well, and we do have
thank you.
a couple different lawyers' offices that work with us. One is Nixon Peabody, and they do something called patent mining. So, like looking at a patent and trying to figure out how many other patents can be derived from that, and also helping kind of figure out where the right person might be,
Okay.
if you wanted to license that IP out. So where someone else could actually just take it to manufacturing and produce it, and you would get royalties. So there's lots of, you don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur to be able to reap the benefits of your creations. So, few different options. Awesome.
Right.
This is fantastic.
Yes, thank
Do you
you.
have
I
any other
appreciate
questions
it.
for us?
Yes. Not at this time. Thank you. It was very informative. You answered most of everything I would have asked.
Well, that's
Great, good.
fantastic. Your questions are likely going to help students who are viewing this afterwards, because everybody comes with different
Okay.
questions, and it's always good to hear those answers. So, heck yeah. Thank you so much, Shanlon.
Thank you.
We look forward. If you have any other questions or concerns, reach out to Mary Chris or I, and we will be happy to meet with you.
Yeah, and I will see you, it sounds like, on February
All
7th for an
right. You're
interview. So
welcome.
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. Oh my goodness. I didn't even
Yes.
realize she had already said. That's right. She's already one
Yes.
of our applicants. Okay, well, we'll see you soon.
All right.
All right. All right,
All
everybody. Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. It was a
You're
pleasure.
welcome. Yeah, have a great day.
Yep. Thank you, everybody who's watching the recording, and hopefully we'll see you
You
soon.
too.